Welcome back, Jerry.
It's so good to see you today.
Missed you.
I missed you too.
Yeah.
Yes. Hello, America.
Hello, America, and international folks, I guess.
Right. We have to be cognizant of that now.
guess
We're
so.
like international now. Apparently.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the US of A, but
We are in the mecca of hormones, Kentucky. You wouldn't have thought of that, I
really known
guess.
fact.
Right. But we are nationwide as a company, so I can at least say that.
And we're joined, of course, by the fabulous, the guru of hormones, Jerry Smith.
I am a person that knows a little bit about hormones. I will say that, but not a guru.
But we also have another special guest today. The Jerry bobblehead.
I do love my bobblehead someone gave me. You know, our good friends, the Cape Girardeau Clinic, Barry Evans and crew, Barry Evans et al. Gave me that, and I really love that. It even has the watch that I wear. I love that.
We'll let you know when these are for sale. We're gonna make some. We've had some requests for Jer Bear plush.
They're gonna have
toys.
to remake them because when I get more exosomes and magic PRP into my scalp and grow more hair, they're gonna have to remake it with hair. I'm just saying. I'm gonna have that Elon Musk hair here pretty soon.
We'll have to come back around soon to the
Yeah. I mean, it's probably gonna take like a year total, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, it's coming in.
Mm-hmm.
It's working.
It's working.
But today, we're not going to talk about hair today. We'll save that for another day. We're going to talk about questions that women ask about HRT, specifically women approaching or in perimenopause, menopause.
Sure.
So I actually asked one of my friends, Jerry, and she texted me verbatim. She said, "Why me? WTF? What did I do to deserve this?"
Oh man.
So I don't know that we can help you with those questions.
Well, I think it's important to put these in like some. Let's talk about some age groups here. So, you know, that 20 to 30 crowd, or maybe the 20 to 35 crowd, as opposed to that 35 to 45 crowd, and then the 45 and up crowd that gets into that deeper perimenopausal window. I think they all present quite often with their own niche compartmentalized stuff, but you never say never. I mean, there's premature ovarian insufficiency, and there's certainly hysterectomies, and you instantly become menopausal that day if you get your ovaries removed. So there's a lot to consider, but I think in that 20 to 35 crowd, what I'm seeing is the same thing we see with young males. So whether you want to hear it or not, we are not the same society we were in, say, like 1940 or 50. I think, unfortunately, we have less labor-intensive jobs, and we have exposure to way more carbohydrate-driven food than we did. We have to like convenience eat or stress eat, and processed foods as well, besides the carbohydrate part. And then the environmental stuff, so endocrine disrupting, the screen time, the sleep deprivation because we're so socially connected on every platform. You know, like we as a society have shifted, and I think that makes us different in that age group in terms of our endocrine function and how we perceive quality of life. A 30-year-old today is not like a 30-year-old was 40, 50 years ago in terms of our hormone levels, in terms of our just general life duties. So
and that bears out in the literature.
Absolutely bears out in literature. Oh, we could get really nerdy about like the military exit study that showed the average testosterone in males at 700 plus 50 years ago, and now it's like in the 440s, I think was the average. So how did we lose 300 points? Well, just the things I just said. And so it's happening in females as well.
Yeah.
And so in that 20 plus crowd, I'm seeing maybe some sexual dysfunction, certainly a bit more of the PCOS, PMOS pathway, complaints, with insulin resistance being a big part of that, as we talked in prior podcasts. But I'm seeing, I think, more stress-mediated things than I used to see. And that yields disruption of their hormone milieu, like this I don't feel normal thing. Well, that's become the new normal.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so I think in that crowd, I'm seeing maybe some testosterone deficiency, certainly some progesterone deficiency, insulin resistance. And they want energy, they want sex, they want weight loss, they want quality sleep, they want stress reduction. And then when you get another category up, this 35 and up crowd, now we're talking about these have become more pronounced. Now they see their performance, like in daily job, in the gym, and taking care of their family, whatever. They're starting to slip because now they want to take a nap, or they're physically tired, or they're moody, or they hurt. And therein starts the perimenopausal shift. And then when you get up into the 40s, and then 45 plus, now you're seeing true. Now let's talk about perimenopausal shift and actual hormone deficiencies that create cycle irregularity and all the things. So that's how I see the age stratification. And then and I love the, like, why did I deserve this? Well, we hadn't even touched on, take those age groups and all their complaints I just said, and now let's shake it up in a shaker bottle combined with her genetics. And the genetics and the epigenetics of how people deal with their problems. The old joke I love is genetics loads your gun, but the environment pulls the trigger, right?
Yeah.
So you take this mix of maybe not so great genetics, and now you put them in this very stressful, difficult to survive environment, and things start showing up. And I think when I came out of traditional training, that was not evident to me. No one in my course of training really put those two things together for me. It's just kind of happened as I've watched this unfold in our patient base. And so it's fascinating, but it's complicated. It's not a one size fits all. It's not a take this one pill and all your problems are solved. It can't be that. The regimen has to be specific for you.
Sure.
It's bio individuality by definition.
It is. And I think women need to give themselves a little bit of grace when it comes to that, because I'm a little bit crunchy. Like, I love some clean living as much as the next person, but I love that you mentioned the younger crowd, because I think there are a lot of women that I hear from who are younger, and they have this perception that if they just, drink the right water, use the right products, the right air filters and all that.
It helps.
All about that. It helps. But the reality is, the cleanest, greenest, you can live off the grid, and you are not immune to changes.
Well, I mean, for those of you who haven't done it, I think I talked to you about this. Go watch the documentary about PFAS, the forever chemical. Oh, yeah. So you can live off the grid all you want and still have that stuff in you. And
they call it forever chemical.
That's the forever chemical. I don't have a way to chelate it out yet. So yeah.
But start with a little bit of grace. You may need a little extra help, and like you said, it's complicated. Like, when it comes to stress, it feels like chicken or the egg. Like, which came first, hormone decline or the stress I'm feeling?
I do feel like the cheap, easy things to start with. So, like, let's focus on our sleep quality. Let's focus on having some me time and reducing our stress burden, and just, like, maybe meditate for 30 minutes a day, or have some quiet time that's for you. I know that's hard. It sounds like impossible. Like, I don't have 30 minutes in my day. Maybe try to build it in, whether that's in the morning or at night. I think at night's important. Mute the phone, turn the screens off, cut down on the caffeine after 2 or 3 in the afternoon, or maybe even noon.
Yeah. I think you can build it into your life. You don't have to download an app necessarily. If breathwork's not your thing, you don't have to. But for me, sometimes it's as simple as I like to take very, very hot baths, like alarmingly hot baths.
Alarmingly.
And, that's relaxing. But then my just breathing time is my problem is I get out of the bathtub and I'm so hot, I have to cool down. So I just lay down on a towel in my master closet and just breathe for a while. And there we go. Yeah. There's my de-stress time.
You mentioned the app. And so I think that some apps can be helpful and maybe prompt us or remind us to do things. But what are you doing when you have the app? I'm still looking at my phone. I'm still it's in my face. It's in my hand. And what's happening behind in the background is texts are popping up and notifications. And put the phone down. Put the phone down. The phone down.
Put the phone down. Yeah. That'll be the headline for this episode.
But if you put it down too long, you can't watch this video. So, like, right. There's a happy medium there.
Maybe put it down within earshot so you can still see your way. We're saying. Right. So let's get into some of the questions for those older crowds. Maybe menopause. One of my people asked, what age do people typically start HRT?
Well, that's loaded. So HRT stands for hormone replacement therapy. Mm-hmm. And I mean, when you say that term, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to take all the hormones at that moment. So perhaps HRT for the 30-year-old that just has a sexual desire problem is low dose testosterone or moderate dose testosterone or whatever dose it takes to get your symptoms mitigated. So, like, that's still HRT, but it's not all the hormones. Yeah. And as we age, I think progesterone is classically the first thing that kind of dips down as your ovarian reserve starts to fall and you don't have the same capacity to make an intact corpus luteum where women get most of their progesterone. As that ability falls, progesterone symptoms start to arise. So your cycle gets irregular, you're more moody, your sleep gets kind of wacky, and you may start to notice that, hey, every now and then I even skip a cycle, or maybe I had a double cycle, or and so
those are super fun, by the way, the back-to-back
cycles. I bet they are. So HRT means to me, which one of these do I need at this moment in this period of my life? Usually testosterone and or progesterone. Estradiol, which is the major estrogen that we would consider with female HRT, at that point you're most likely menopausal. I do see some providers and even OBGYN people or functional medicine people throwing in some estrogen before true menopause. And it's not, I don't think it's dangerous. I think you have to be very careful with this rebounding and worsening effect. But I personally like to not give the estradiol until they're fully menopausal and use the others to control the symptoms until that point. But full MHRT would consist of estradiol, progesterone, testosterone, plus or minus any other needs that arise. So, are you hypothyroid or have Hashimoto's rather, or just other needs that pop up?
Yeah. I mean, I always tell, you mentioned a couple of things there that I always encourage my friends with as far as when they should consider something is, I think a lot of women that I talk to think of HRT in terms of just reproductive.
I see. Okay.
And so I like to tell people, like, zoom out, like, look at the bigger picture of, like, how are you feeling energy wise? How are you feeling sexually? How are your moods? How are your cycles? All of that stuff, obviously, but also like longer term goals, because as we know, hormones have, a role to play
Sure
in
they do.
longevity as well.
And absolutely.
So,
I mean, there's
friends are thinking about hormones because they're watching, their mom develop dementia.
Sure.
So.
There's a whole thing to unpack there. So there's plenty of longevity trials now. I love the Rancho Bernardo. I love the European aging studies. They showed a 30% reduction in all-cause mortality in this older group that they tracked for like 40 years that just kept their hormones in the higher limits of normal. They didn't go crazy. They weren't like bodybuilder dosing. This is not at insane levels. They're just keeping them in the upper quartiles of normal. And they showed a 30% reduction in all-cause mortality in these two very independent studies. I think the Rancho Bernardo, somebody fact-checked me in America on this, I think it was 4,000 people for 38 or 40 years, and the European aging was like maybe not quite 4,000, but it also went nearly 40 years. 30% reduction in all-cause mortality is significant.
Yeah, that's nothing to sneeze at.
Let's look at that. Yeah. And then one thing I wanted to go back to, this is not medical advice. Testosterone really shouldn't be used if you're considering fertility. So the sexual part's important, but if you're trying to get actively pregnant, I would not be using testosterone. It is a teratogen. And then furthermore, I think progesterone becomes the mainstay for those people. It's progestational progesterone. So again, use the right hormone for the right time, for the right symptom, right?
Sure.
So,
the right mix.
Yeah.
Okay, and somebody asked, is it usually based on blood work for symptoms? It being, I assume, the decision.
That's a good question. I think if you go to a place, a clinic, your provider that only absolutely says, well, if the numbers aren't off, I can't help you. I have a problem with that because the ranges, the reference ranges are broad. Bioindividuality is a thing. How each individual patient has receptor site sensitivity to a hormone varies. There's a lot of dynamic variables of that. Cortisol is one. So what I'd say is, I think the symptoms and the numbers in tandem have to be considered. And to me, quite often the symptoms trump the numbers within reason. But I would not turn someone away that had, air quote, normal labs, especially if it's like the low end of normal. Sure. Like you're 1 point off the bottom and you have all the checklist symptoms. And I go, well, I can't help you because you're normal. That's kind of crazy to me. I don't like that.
That's pretty wild.
So what I'm saying is, if you're that person and you've been told that, seek out a clinic that looks at the symptoms in tandem with the numbers, not just absolute numbers.
And the right labs, that's where that becomes important too, because if somebody's saying, well, you're in the normal range and all they're looking at is total testosterone.
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh man. But so is this the video to get into that? I mean, can we just talk about that? It drives me crazy. This drives me crazy. So even if we're talking about females, the range is still somewhat broad, depending on which lab reference you use, LabCorp, Quest, any of the other, ARUP, any of the others. So you're telling me that it's okay for any average female to have a testosterone of, say, like between 5 and 80, and that the person at 5 feels equal to the person at 70 or 80, age independent. So if no matter if they're 25 years old or 75 years old, that's totally okay. That's crazy. Okay.
That's crazy.
And then furthermore, in the mid 1990s, it was discovered, actually a little bit before that with thyroid in the 80s, but in the 90s it became more widely accepted that there are binding agents that hold on to hormones as think of them as like a storage vessel or buffer reserve tanks. Sex hormone binding globulin is one good example of that. There's others. About 95% or 97% of all your hormones you can make are bound to these carrier proteins. Testosterone is the most bound. So to measure a total and go, yeah, you're good, it doesn't tell you how much is usable, unbound, or free testosterone. Another word you hear is bioavailable. That has to do with albumin bound. Free testosterone is much more important than total testosterone. And I see people still not checking it. It drives me crazy. I'm going, wait, how could you treat people based on total?
When you
I
say
don't
it's
know.
more important, why?
Because that's the only fraction in your body ready to be used as an active hormone at that moment. If it's still bound to the carrier, you can measure it. Think about it like, okay, you took a Rubbermaid tub and you put your winter clothes in there. Okay. You probably know I put 5 sweaters in there. Can you wear those sweaters while they're in the tub?
Absolutely not.
But you know there's 5 in there, right? Mm-hmm. How many have you got ready to use right now? 0. So if I just go, well, you've got 5 sweaters, you're good for the winter. Not until you get them out of the storage and put them on.
Yeah, until
right?
then you're topless. Sorry.
So free and total testosterone are very important to know. Free being the most important to me because it's usable to you at that moment.
I love it. So good. Last question. Is HRT something every woman should consider at some point in life, or is it just for those who have troublesome peri or menopause symptoms? I love this question because I have people in my life who, like, on one end of the spectrum, they're like, I just stopped having my period one day and everything stayed the same. Yeah. I didn't notice anything. And then other people who feel like they're too young to be experiencing the symptoms that they're experiencing.
I don't like to speak in absolutes. I never say never, and I never say always. Except just now. Here's what I'd say. Is there someone out there that goes through menopause, maintains their bone density, never has a hot flash, never has a mood swing, their lipids and their plaque development stay absolutely pristine, they get their coronary calcium scan, they go get their other invasive coronary studies, and they have no plaque buildup, they never develop Alzheimer's or any kind of other dementia, their muscle mass stays high, their sexual drive stays high, their lubrication and all the sexual function stays perfect. Is that person alive today? Probably. There's probably someone somewhere that's been like, I am 90 years old just like I was when I was 35. But gosh, they're really rare. I don't know that I've ever met one. And so never say never. But on the other end of that, I think the vast majority, especially in America where we have not only access to care, but all these endocrine disrupting things, all the bad diet, all the things, especially here where I see bone density degradation, and I see vaginal atrophy, and I see sexual dysfunction, and I see lipid dysfunction or dysregulation, and I see plaque buildup and tau plaquing and Alzheimer's and all the things. I think most women should consider MHRT at the onset of menopause, at least, if not maybe slightly before that for other symptom control. But,
yeah, I agree. And it is a delicate balance because on the one hand, if it's not broke, don't try to overthink it or create a problem before you have a problem. But on the other hand, I hear from so many people, not just women, but men, basically expressing, I didn't know how bad I felt until I felt better. And so you may think that you're just kind of going about perimenopause, menopause, and nothing's really changing. But is that really true, or have you forgotten what it's like to really? That's where we get our name. That's why we say we optimize your health. We optimize your hormones.
Maybe it would be better if society and the medical community started looking at aging like it's a disease and not like it's just like going to happen to everyone and we can't stop it. Like if we looked at it more like a disease, perhaps a slightly different view of the approach of attacking it would change. Unsure, but I do think it's like a disease. I think we should pretend that we can maybe not reverse it. I'm not saying we have a time machine. I'm saying you could slow it down.
Yeah.
I think you slow it down.
Well, it's a great place to close out for today.
I love that.
Thank you, Chair Bear.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Goodbye, America. I know that there's some usable shit in that.